Wow, that's just nasty. Let it go. This week on Virtual Skeptics, Bob crosses the event horizon of bullshit, just like the theme this week. Eve learns about Shakespeare from a botanist. Barb, semicolon. And Tim is Googling dinosaurs. I'm your host, Brian Gregory. I'm going to just let this... Wow, that was crazy, wasn't it? And I was going to say, as the music keeps bashing me on the side of the head here, that I know what happens to the dinosaurs. Right.
No! They all turn to plastic!
Yes. Dinosaur attack!
Yep. That's Grimlock from the original series.
Grimlock.
Grimlock.
Is that...
Make sure you
actually it wasn't the first edition. It was this. Oh, never mind. I don't know.
Why am I?
Why are you echoing? Okay, this is the Virtual Skeptics. Thanks for watching. We're gonna banter a bit, apparently because Bob wants to say something about Grimlock.
What's that from?
Nothing. It's from nothing. I made it. It's no big deal.
He made it up.
Never mind. Thanks for watching. Goodbye. No. Let me introduce the crew because we need to do a show thing. Okay, Bob?
Okay.
We do a show thing?
Okay.
Okay. Because I'm going to introduce you first.
Okay.
You ready?
Okay.
And go. Okay. Bob Blaskiewicz, Seaside Conspiracy Guy, web columnist, blogger for Skeptical Humanities, and Skepticality contributor. Next up, we have Eve Siebert, editor and blogger at Skeptical Humanities, and contributor to Skepticality and Insight without an S at skeptic.com. Barbara Drescher, former psychology instructor, blogger at ICBS Everywhere, and contributor to numerous skeptical projects, including Insight without an S at skeptic.com, and The Odds Must Be Crazy. Finally, we have Tim Farley, the wonderful Tim Farley, blogger at SkepTools and Insight without an S at skeptic.com, Skepticality contributor and creator of What's the Harm, and former JREF fellow. Boom! I left all the consonants in there. I did. Okay, so this is a show. We do a show. You guys watch. If you're watching, great. If you want to, I don't know, influence what you see, you can tweet with hashtag Virtual Skeptics. I know. Apparently, you can go Google-eyed and just try to beam it into our minds directly, or you can comment on the YouTube channel, or I think the Q&A apps. Is it running? I'm going to make sure it's running.
I think it's running.
Yep, it's running. So if you ask a question on the Q&A, we can tag it in the video as we answer if it's a good question. If it's not a good question, we might just laugh and point. So, this week, every week, we do a couple of little things. Actually, every week we do a show, because we haven't done a show, like, in 2 weeks. I'm sorry. It was my fault. All my fault. And I'm really, really sorry. We do a couple of things. We do a trivia question every week and some other stuff. But first up, ready, Tim?
Yes.
Yeah. Is this related to dinosaurs? Robotic dinosaurs, because that's what I'm interested in.
Dinosaurs naked?
I'm feeling really awkward now, Tim.
Well, from some of the annoyance I've heard about the dinosaurs in Jurassic World.
Oh, so the dinosaurs in Jurassic World are naked.
All right. Well,
what does this have to do with the trivia question?
All right. The trivia question is, on this day in 1959, a very famous hoax was launched on none other than the Today Show on NBC. But the front man, it was actually created by a famous hoaxer by the name of Alan Abel. But the front man for it, the person who posed as the head of a mythical organization whose purpose was to put clothes on all animals so they wouldn't be naked, who played that front man? It partially unmasked the hoax because he was a known comedian and some of the reporters recognized him.
Yeah.
He was a comedian and writer known for a number of classic TV shows. Who was it who was on the Today Show wanting to put clothes on naked animals?
There you go. It's pushed out into Twitterland. When I first read this question, I couldn't even remember what it was, and of course I read the answer, which I'm not going to tell you right now, and I went back.
And he still doesn't know, which is weird.
Yeah, I know. It had nothing to do with robotic dinosaurs. It was very sad. Same. Okay, same thing we do every week. Not every week. I'm going to say every week because to me it's every week. I actually don't.
When you're here, yes.
Yes, when I'm here, I'm here. When I'm not here, I'm actually just not even in existence between shows. So, never mind. I got two screens behind me, and they're playing some stuff. This week, they're both movie trailers. I'm going to give you that little bit. They're both movie trailers. If you can guess what they both are, I will probably fly out to where you are and give you a big hug. Not really. But if I do see you someday, remind me. And
I think that's a binding contract, actually. And it's recorded, so
I retract.
You're going to be getting your squeezes on.
I do not. Bob Dole does not support this message.
Do you have a headless figurine on the bookshelf behind you?
A headless figurine?
That's
do I?
entirely possible.
Where? Oh no! It's just his head's a little tiny. It's just tiny.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yes. Never mind. No, he's not headless. I wish. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Sorry. No headless figurines this week. Who's first? Oh, Eve's going first. Is your story about headless figurines? I hope so, because that would be one hell of a segue.
Sure. Let's say yes. No. But I'm going to start right off with my first slide, if you could.
And the monkey flips the switch.
Yeah. So, somewhere on this title page is a portrait of Shakespeare. Can you find it? Well, that is to say, there's a portrait of Shakespeare on this page according to botanist Mark Griffiths. Griffiths claims it's the only portrait of Shakespeare made during Shakespeare's lifetime. And based on his discovery of the supposed portrait, he has also attributed an otherwise anonymous short play to Shakespeare's hand. Now, this has been described as the literary discovery of the century, and even the greatest discovery in literature. Griffiths published this great discovery in Country Life, a glossy weekly magazine dedicated to the joys of rural living, with scads of ads for real estate and vacation rentals. It's not exactly where you'd expect to find the literary discovery of the century. It's a little like publishing the discovery of the Higgs particle in Better Homes and Gardens.
Nice.
Oh my God.
And you may be asking, who declared the portrait the literary discovery of the century and the greatest discovery in literature? If your answer is Country Life magazine, give yourself a skeptic point.
We'll refrain from trying to say that in a country accent.
Now, I'm not going to actually talk about the supposed literary works, because there's actually two of them, attributed to Shakespeare by Griffiths, because absolutely no evidence is given for them. Apparently, we'll have to wait for Griffiths' book for that. That will be published next year.
Of course.
So, yeah. So the portrait. The next slide is a close-up of what is supposed to be Shakespeare.
I thought it was the other guy.
Yeah.
Nope, that's Shakespeare.
Really?
Yes. And Griffiths does argue toward the end of his article that this actually does resemble, it's supposed to be Shakespeare at 33, does resemble the two acknowledged but posthumous portraits of Shakespeare, the Droeshout engraving from the title page of the Shakespeare First Folio, which is the next slide. And will be familiar.
And welcomed in with fanfare?
Yeah. Which will be familiar to people.
But wait, where's his hipster beard?
Ringtone, Bob.
And also then the memorial sculpture in Holy Trinity Church in Stratford, which is the next slide.
It's got a little something on his. Oh.
Yeah, and you can tell. I mean, neither of those two portraits, the First Folio and the memorial statue, they're not great art, and they are different ages. but you can tell there's at least a similarity between them. But Griffiths is saying that the print that he discovered, that Shakespeare's just younger and has more hair. I don't see it, but whatever. Let's move on. The book is John Gerard's Herbal, printed in 1598, which is an almost 1,500-page book about plants. Griffiths identifies the other figures on the title page as the author, Gerard. Rembert Dodens, a Flemish botanist whose work was Gerard's primary source. William Cecil Lord Burleigh, Elizabeth I principal advisor, garden lover, and dedicatee of the herbal, and also Gerard's patron. To discover the identity of the figures, Griffiths used various coded clues and interpretations of the plants with which each man is visually associated on the title page. So for Shakespeare, he begins with the device which is beneath the figure, which is the next slide, and it's going to be super blurry, so sorry. Yeah. So I could ask you what you all actually see in that.
ORXXX?
I see a lifetime of fail.
I see an Illuminati symbol.
Yeah.
Or is it Titan AE? I'm not sure.
Well, what it is, it's a merchant's mark called a sign of 4. And there are a lot of different ones. They were used a lot by printers in Shakespeare's time. And you can see there's something at the top that looks like a 4, but with other stuff attached to it. I think we can agree that what's in the middle is an O and an R. Griffiths takes that as the French, I guess it must be French, the French word or, which means gold, which is used in heraldry. But what he sees coded references to Shakespeare. References
like
to Shakespeare's
Wolverine's signature.
Yeah. References to Shakespeare's coat of arms, that's the OR in particular. He also sees a spear. Shakespeare's first name at the bottom, there's a W supposedly, along with an A indicating Shakespeare's mother's maiden name, Arden. As I said, he regards it as a cipher. He sees things that I don't see, and he doesn't see things that I do see, because at the top I see an N. He sees the 4 symbol, a spearhead, and an E. I kind of see an L,
no,
but I also see an N in between.
Out of that.
Yeah, I don't see that. So, you know, obviously it's a matter of interpretation, and anytime people start to say, "Oh, it's totally there, it's just in code," worry. Then there are the plants, which of course is the thing he's most interested in. I mean, he's a botanist. So if you go to the next slide, where we can see just the figure.
You know, if I may, it sounds to me like the only thing this botanist knows about the Renaissance is Shakespeare, and therefore everything is somehow a reflection of Shakespeare.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's pointed out that basically he was an English major. He read English at...
This darn English
I don't remember if it was... I think it was Oxford, possibly Cambridge. I don't remember. I don't know. So the plants. In his right hand, the figure is holding a snake's head fritillary. The next slide shows you a snake's head fritillary. But it's a kind of a droopy purple and white flower in a checkerboard pattern.
So definitely not a corn, because that's
no.
Because I really like corn, so everything looks like corn to me.
Yeah. According to Griffiths, Gerard promoted the use of this particular flower in English gardens. So what does that have to do with Shakespeare? Well, in classical stories about Adonis, when Adonis is killed by a boar, Venus turns his blood into an anemone flower. But in Shakespeare's poem, Venus and Adonis, he describes the flower as purple checkered with white, which does sound like a fritillary. So what, you may be asking? Shakespeare mentioned lots of plants in his works. I mean, and lots of plants in his works, or described them. So why would this one sort of just say to people of the time, oh, Shakespeare? I don't know. But maybe let's look at the other plant. What's he holding in his left hand? If you go, the next slide is the figure again.
Corn.
And that is maize.
Oh, so okay.
With a
So the other one
lot
wasn't
of
three
hair
corns.
coming out of it.
Yeah.
That's a
And maize,
big-ass
of course-
tassel.
Yeah. Maize, of course, comes from the New World. Why is Shakespeare holding it?
Because
Now,
clearly he was a corn farmer, Eve.
Griffiths says that Gerard mistakenly believed that maize was the corn referred to by Pliny the Elder, who wrote about plants and animals and other stuff in his Naturalis Historia. So maybe this figure, who is dressed like a Roman, is the Roman Pliny. No, of course not. Griffiths quotes a passage from Titus Andronicus in which Titus's brother Marcus mentions corn. Shakespeare uses the word corn quite often, actually, as did other writers of his time. It's a perfectly common word. But at the time the herbal was printed, it never referred to maize. It meant grain, and that's the context Shakespeare uses it in. In fact, corn meaning maize isn't recorded by the Oxford English Dictionary until 1608, which is 10 years after this book was printed. So...
Or that's what they want you to think.
Yeah. So that doesn't make any sense, as far as I can tell. Unless, say, Shakespeare somehow got bad information from Gerard, and even then, it still doesn't make any sense. But Griffiths does posit a relationship between Gerard and Shakespeare. And he'd have to, because why else would Shakespeare appear on the title page of Gerard's work when he didn't appear on the title page of any of his own works that were published during his lifetime? And there were quite a few, I should mention. So according to Griffiths, Shakespeare was working for Lord Burleigh as a propaganda writer. And some of his works, therefore, are propaganda, including Venus and Adonis. I won't go into that. But then through Burleigh, he came into contact with Gerard, and Gerard helped Shakespeare with plant lore, while Shakespeare helped Gerard with tricky translations from Latin and Greek, and in addition, he helped turn the classical quotations into English verse. So Shakespeare was a sort of ghostwriter for the herbal, or at least he tarted it up a bit. Now, you may be asking, what's the evidence for all of this? Well, there isn't any.
What's the evidence for all this?
Well, I'm glad you asked. There isn't any. There's none. And again, it's a red flag with Shakespeare if someone comes up with a great theory and it's all based on biographical stuff, which is somehow intuited, but there's no real evidence for it. Maybe Griffiths will present some evidence in his book. That would be nice. Evidence is cool. In the meantime, look for my groundbreaking botany discovery of the century in the upcoming issue of Shakespeare Quarterly.
I
got it.
I did too.
It was a switcheroo is what you did there.
It was nice. Yeah, that was very clever.
And if you want to know more, much more about this, I wrote about it on the Insight blog, and there will be a link to that in the notes.
And I am going to write my article on historical plants and try to publish it in the IEEE Robotics magazine.
Yeah.
How about that? No? Very interesting in a mind-numbing kind of way. Not you, that guy. The guy.
Oh, okay. Good.
Okay. Thanks for that. Very interesting. Comments on the Twitters. Someone, Alpha asked if Billy Shakespeare is now an Illuminati, which, I think there's evidence for that, at least as much evidence as for the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any Q&A.
Actually, in Da Vinci Code, he was listed amongst the Priory of Sion.
So there you go. It was listed in a list in a fiction. So that's
so it must be true.
Than that. Must be true.
I don't know if it's in Holy Blood, Holy Grail.
Because of Tom Hanks.
Yes, Tom Hanks says it. I believe it. Up next, Tim.
I'm back.
The techie expert Tim is going to talk about dinosaurs.
Well, I'm going to talk about Google and dinosaurs. There was it's sort of a last-minute topic that happened yesterday. You may have noticed on the Twitters and the Facebooks that someone noticed that if you typed the phrase, "What happened to the dinosaurs?" like people wonder all the time, into Google, as of yesterday, you got my first slide.
Bing.
Which was pointed out by various folks, including Skeptics Guide and whatnot. And let me explain a little bit about what you're seeing here. This is a Google search result page, or SERP, as they say in the biz. And there's a few things to point out here. There's three results that you can see in this screenshot. Two of them are provided by Google programmatically. And they have boxes around them. And usually they're usually at the top or on the right side, and they'll often have a little feedback item below them. And those are referred to as either knowledge graph or Google Answers. In this case, you've got both a knowledge graph and a Google answer here. The one in the center with the graphic that says formed is what's called a Google answer. It's where Google tries to pull out the correct answer if it's a simple question. Like if you ask simple questions of Google, like, how old is Billy Crystal? You'll get a box with Billy Crystal is 62 years old, or however old he is. In nice big letters, and that's a Google answer. Now, the thing on the right is what's called knowledge graph, and I've talked about that on the show before because it's drawn from Wikipedia and stuff, and there's a lot of really cool skeptic-y things that happen in the knowledge graph. But in this case, both of these boxes are references to Answers in Genesis and Ken Ham, and folks were kind of upset because what happened to the dinosaurs should be a question of science, and this is more an answer being given by a religious person. And so they were encouraging everybody to hit that feedback button. Well, the good news is the feedback button works.
Yeah.
Because Google has already changed this result. And apparently the result may have been changing yesterday as people hit the feedback button, because I've seen just in the process of gathering these slides, I looked at a couple of the folks who blogged Doubtful News and the Skeptics Guide, and Greg Layden and several other skeptic bloggers blogged about this. And the screenshots look different. If you go to my next slide, you'll see that the screenshot that Sharon Hill got over at Doubtful News shows a different, it's the same link and the same graphic that says formed, but the excerpt is different.
You think that's maybe she cropped it that way, or that's
no, it's a completely different excerpt.
Oh yeah.
I just Googled it, and this is what I got.
I have no idea.
The
when you
first
hold it up.
There's no box on the side because it's on my iPad, but the first hit is Ken Ham's book.
Yeah, but you Googled what really, which is the actual title of the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah. If you exact match a title to a book or a movie or something, you're always going to get a box with that thing in it.
I got Greg Layden's blog.
Then,
well, now a lot of the organic, the results, the third result on my original screenshot is what's called an organic results, and that's the normal stuff that Google comes up. It's like whatever percolates up to the top. Basically.
The second is, why is Google giving a creationist answer to a question about the dinosaurs?
Yeah, that's what I was getting.
Kind of weird skeptic Streisand effect that when we start commenting on stuff like this, the blogs that comment on it become the result.
The third is Google drops biblical answer for what happened to the dinosaurs.
Yeah, they've already changed this. And based on people clicking the feedback button, which is good news. But this is kind of an interesting follow-up to, I talked about, I don't know, X shows ago. I talked about the Google knowledge-based trust, where they're planning on altering their algorithm to tweak how the organic results are measured and what percolates up to the top based on truth values. And one of the things I speculated on in that episode is that people are going to learn how to manipulate these ratings by doing fact stuffing into their articles. There used to be an old trick, and people still do it to a certain extent, where they would jam keywords into their articles. So, like, if you think people are Googling Britney Spears, probably would have been a keyword back when this would have worked. You would put Britney Spears, like down at the bottom of your article, just so that someone looking for Britney Spears would get a hit on your article. Now, Google is much smarter about keywords that are not used in context and whether or not the keywords relate to the rest of the article and stuff, so that kind of foolishness doesn't work as well anymore. But I suspect that a new version of it is going to evolve that is going to involve stuffing facts into articles that are not factual in order to get them to rank higher. And I'm going to provide a link in the show notes to an interesting collective evolution article. I didn't provide a screenshot of it because it's mostly text, but the article was titled "Editor-in-Chief of World's Best-Known Medical Journal Says Half of All the Literature is False." Now, we've probably heard this, the John Ioannidis study and a lot of stuff about how studies can't be replicated, and it turns out a lot of studies, even highly cited studies, turn out to be wrong. And that's, on some level, that's science correcting itself. But on some level, a lot of people are concerned that some studies that were used to, like, for instance, approve drugs turn out to not be replicable. And what does that mean for that drug and the people who are taking it? But this particular article was interesting because I saw people, if you know anything about the site Collective Evolution, it's full of crap. It's like World News Daily for crystal, crystal chakra lovers. And it's full of, like, a lot of crappy articles and a lot of kind of middle-of-the-road articles, but this particular article was interesting because I found people who normally don't tweet woo-woo stuff tweeting this one, and the interesting thing is the article basically has kind of three main paragraphs, and one is a quote from a real study about how many studies are replicable. The second one was a big quote from Marcia Engel, the former editor of the New England Journal of Medicine, who's a very good spoken at skeptic conferences and stuff, and has commented on this, and it was a very good comment on it. And then the third part of the article was a link to a batshit crazy anti-vaxxer. And this article is a prime example, because if you ran the truth algorithm, I guarantee you, if you ran the truth algorithm on this article, it would get some nice hits in those first few paragraphs of, Marcia Engel, yep, she's real, yep, this is real, yep, the John Ioannidis study, that's a real study, da-da-da-da-da. It would all check out, and then, boom, they drop the bullshit in the third section of the article.
Yeah, trying to associate themselves with known sources.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so both of these are examples of, and I don't know if the Ken Ham dinosaurs result was a deliberate attempt or just a glitch, or how it got in the Google results. But we have to keep an eye out for this stuff because this stuff is going to happen. Things are going to percolate up to the top in the algorithms that don't need to be there, and we need to keep alert about it and call it out. And Skeptics did the right thing yesterday and called out this dinosaur result, and everybody hit the feedback button.
Well,
it does work.
System that anybody puts in place for this sort of thing is going to end up getting abused. You have to constantly. It's sort of like security, you know.
Yeah. Until the computers get smarter than us.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
Well, you know, one of the things that has distressed me a little bit over the years is when I first started writing about using the no-follow tag when linking to bad websites, and it applies to do not link too. I got a little bit, not a ton, but a little bit of pushback from certain skeptics saying that it was wrong for us to do that, that we should leave it up to the so-called, leave it up to the algorithms or leave it up to the
just do what the computer tells you to do, Tim. Just do what the computer orders you.
Google knows best.
Well, it wasn't so much Google knows best, but to let other people compete on the basis of however they're going to compete, and hopefully science will win out.
Yeah.
And
these libertarians. This sounds like a libertarian
this argument at all. Well, yeah, part of it is a kind of libertarian free market thing, although the two people in particular that I can think of that were telling me this were definitely not libertarians. But you do get this sort of argument from libertarians, marketplace of ideas. But part of it was
have the same problem.
Google does their best to make their algorithm, and it's in Google's best interests to make their algorithm as neutral and as correct as possible. So they have a huge financial incentive to get it right. But I don't buy that. I don't buy that. These algorithms foul up just like this dinosaur result. These algorithms foul up all the time. And we need to be fighting back.
Yeah, I can say the same thing to that as I say to libertarianism, is that the economics don't work. People will game the system because they can game the system, and that's in their incentive to do so, to get ahead. So there you go. My take on libertarianism.
Pithy.
Well,
very pithy.
I've got a little bit of an update from Twitter. Sharon says that her screen cap was actually the earliest one.
I saw that.
The one that's up there now is Sharon's screen cap. She got a private tip about this from somebody on Twitter before it blew up.
So the other ones
may have been
added.
The first result, and then that one might have gotten dumped out and created the second result. Might have percolated up.
How much of this? Oh, go ahead.
When I searched yesterday, I was getting the thing to the side for the Ken Ham book,
right?
But not the little "here's the answer to your question" thing.
Yeah, and the thing to the side is definitely a knowledge graph result, and it's you can't really argue too much with it. There is in fact a book called "What Really Happened to the Dinosaurs," and it's a pretty decent result for that query. So, okay, we may not like that Ken Ham has that book out there, but again, it is.
That just means you have to write a book called "What Really Happened to the Dinosaurs."
Right.
What really, really happened to the dinosaurs?
What people were objecting to is the fact that Google drew a box around that left-hand result, thereby sort of elevating it and saying, hey, Google is saying this is the correct answer, and people were objecting to that.
So the omniscient AI that runs Google is a creationist.
I guess. Or it was, and it changed its mind yesterday afternoon.
It's fickle. Okay.
That's all I
questions. I got one question about whether or not we should believe in the Philadelphia era Hanks or the bosom buddies Tom Hanks.
Well,
he seemed more trustworthy in address.
Yeah.
That's Mark Price's humor right there. Better than mine. actually. Barbara's next.
I'm next.
Barbara's got a collection of things here. I don't know how to describe this.
Well, it's kind of two different categories. It's kind of my news wrap-up, but with my opinion, of course, because I can't have a thought without expressing it. And I was kind of stuck for a topic, and I came across two, and I couldn't choose, so I decided to talk about both. So the first one, dice. Well, they're both kind of. The first one's really short, and it's kind of important. So,
all right.
The first one is the. You probably all heard the news that California passed a new bill removing the personal exemption.
Yes.
For vaccines for kids to go to school, right?
Some muted applause.
Except that they didn't. So this was big news, and it is big news. It is a big deal, but it's only the California Senate that passed the bill. It's Bill SB277.
Yeah.
The bill now goes to the Assembly, and they'll talk about it sometime this summer, probably early this summer, and I am sure it will probably get passed, but it has hurdles left, so we shouldn't get too excited yet. And of course, it's been this huge war in California, mostly between a group, the doctors, and a group of angry parents, angry moms, mostly, and chiropractors.
Oh boy!
Strangely enough,
yeah,
the chiropractors have gotten in on it. So I wanted to correct that thing, but I also, when I was looking for an article on it, I came across this great one that I have to read you. This is from the Citizens for Legitimate Government website, and it says the headline is "Wave of Medical Police State Refugees to Flee California if SB 277 signed into law." They say California will be the origin of America's first wave of medical police state refugees fleeing medical tyranny if Governor Jerry Brown signs SB 277 into law. SB 277 is California's pharma-funded vaccine assault on parents and children. It would terminate all personal belief exemptions and force nearly all children in California to be forcibly injected with vaccines that are knowingly manufactured with neurotoxic substances such as mercury, aluminum, formaldehyde, and MSG. MSG. Okay, I'm not done.
Wow. Those are the.
Oh my God, this is great.
An hour later, you need to be vaccinated again.
Yeah. I couldn't not read this one.
This vaccine tastes spicy.
If he signs the law, Governor Brown will be declaring medical genocide against children whose genetic makeup causes them to have extremely heightened risks to vaccine injury. No child will be safe in California, and the state will cement
Think of the children
as the first real-life medical police state in America where risks of medical civil war skyrocket. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh my God!
What's this guy's name? Because I want to hire. I want to hire a speechwriter. So
there's a link in the.
I think that it would be great if we did have some sort of civil war. We'll just inflict measles on them, and we'll win.
No, this is not.
That's actually not cool. But
this site is quite a hotbed of conspiracy theory crap.
Yes, it is.
Oh my gosh, that was great.
The bill is not driven or funded by pharma, but by fear. The catalyst, of course, was illnesses such as the recent measles outbreak in Disneyland.
Yep.
No child is going to be forcibly injected with anything. Children are not required to be vaccinated. They were required to be vaccinated to attend public school. Okay, there are homeschooling options. There's private schools. For those who refuse to vaccinate, they can still use the public school system by doing homeschooling. There's online schools now. I mean, K through 12 in the state of California has an online system.
You can get your education in a plastic bubble. The
Yep.
options
That's
are
true.
endless.
So and then there's the first real life police state. Not hardly. So if this bill passes, California will not be alone. Most of the states only allow religious exemptions as it is, and 2 states already don't have any personal belief exemptions at all. So this is not the first time that this has even been discussed.
So you're saying they're as up on current events as they are on immunology?
Yes, and medical
Very
genocide,
much.
genetic makeup. What? Anyone with a legitimate medical risk can get a medical exemption and go to public school.
Yeah.
The medical exemption's still there. Okay? Everything that's being removed is personal belief exemption, which includes a religious exemption. Most states allow
Is
for
she being
religious.
sucked
All
to
but
the
2
Matrix?
states allow for a religious exemption as it is, and a few, some of them, I think there's something like 16 that allow a philosophical objection. So this is nothing groundbreaking at all. It's new for California because years ago they allowed the philosophical belief.
Yeah, and as far as the police state is concerned, we know the takeover is going to start in Texas anyway.
That's right.
I didn't hear a word of that. Sorry.
Oh. The takeover is going to start in Texas
Who wrote
anyway.
Gobbledygook.
Takeover
Did
is gonna
anybody else
start-
Yeah,
hear
I
that?
think it came in backwards.
I heard him.
I heard him.
What did he say?
That's right.
He said
Tim?
that the invasion's going to start in Texas.
At
Oh,
Walmart.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Well,
kidding,
apparently
yes.
the Texas people are wrong because the California chiropractors are being punished for opposing the bill. So that's really what's going on. So chiropractors oppose this like
Because they're not medical professionals?
it was like the Mormons opposing the Prop 8. It was pretty strong. So they got in on it. We don't know why, but they think they're being opposed. They think they're being punished for opposing the bill because the congressional subcommittees that are working on the budget recently voted to restore some optional Medi-Cal benefits that had been unfunded in the past. So they restored some of these Medi-Cal benefits, but they didn't restore chiropractic services. Therefore, the chiropractors are being punished for not supporting the bill.
How are they being punished?
Because they are not getting coverage under Medi-Cal that they currently don't have.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So they're not getting something that they don't have?
Yeah,
Aw.
they're not getting their Medi-Cal benefits that are currently don't exist. They're not getting them refunded or restored.
No.
Yeah. So yeah.
Positive.
So I thought that was interesting. And then the other thing that was interesting, actually, there's a a hat tip to Steve Kuno for bringing this up on Facebook.
Food.
He wrote a post about how livid he was about some new fast food initiatives.
Oh.
So we all know that Chipotle is getting rid of GMOs, right? So they're getting rid of GMOs, except that they're still going to serve meat that's fed GMOs. So that's kind of a big old lie, isn't it?
We all know it's a marketing thing anyway. Right?
Yeah, it is. And Subway's
like
no
food.
longer serving
We
bread
all
made
know it's a
from yoga
marketing
mats.
thing.
Yeah. And Subway's no longer serving bread made from yoga mats, which we all know about that, right?
Oh, yeah.
And Panera Bread.
I don't like the taste of yoga mats.
I know, it's
There you go.
yummy.
I don't know. I wouldn't know the
Tough.
difference. I didn't get to choose. I didn't get to taste before and after right next to each other, so I wouldn't know. But yeah,
Before and after the yoga session?
the yoga mat. When they changed the bread. That was gross. It probably tastes like feet, huh? And Panera Bread, of course, has vowed to remove 150 artificial ingredients by the end of next year.
Artificial?
Yes, artificial ingredients.
Do they have a list?
There's a great, yes, they do. They actually do have a list up, and I have a link to a Today Show piece on it that links to it.
So they're going to use unfiltered water and...
Good point.
Good point. In the Today Show piece, the Panera Bread people, it says, in this world, whole foods and simple are synonymous with nutritious and good. At the opposite end of the spectrum is anything that sounds like it was made in a lab. And that's probably what's driving this, if you can't pronounce it.
Dihydrogen monoxide.
But I noticed the language you said sounds like. And but the winning bullshitter of the year award goes to Panero's CEO, Ron, I don't even know how to say his last name, Sayich, who said in a press release or something, "We are not scientists. We are people who know and love food and who believe that the journey to better foods is simpler ingredients." What the hell
but it's
does
only the
that
journey.
even mean? Yes, you're not scientists. So, okay.
I guess that qualifies him to be a Republican senator. Now that he said I'm not a scientist.
That's
point.
true.
So what Steve was upset about was that Taco Bell and Pizza Hut have now joined in. I didn't realize that Taco Bell was using artificial black pepper flavoring instead of real black pepper. Did you?
I didn't realize they serve food.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Well, you know.
Hey, they have a meat gun. I like any restaurant that has a meat gun.
Yes. I'm waiting for Taco Bell to completely convert to automation, and that would be.
I worked for a Taco Bell.
I'd eat there all the time just to watch them make the food.
I worked for a Taco Bell for 3 months when I was 18, and we only had the sour cream gun. We actually made refried beans from scratch back then. You know, we had ground meat was ground meat, and it was fresh and all that. But you know, at least they do use some fresh things. But here's the thing.
When was this?
A long time ago.
Okay. I was wondering if it was the same time I used to go eat at Taco Bell a lot during this one period of time because
You were a teenager?
No, I was not a teenager.
And then it probably was not.
It probably wasn't the same time. But yeah, it was cheap. But also, they had a contest where you could like get points and get free stuff, and I got a Bullwinkle T-shirt for free. I ate at Taco Bell so much.
What does Bullwinkle have to do with Taco Bell?
I know. It was a movie.
Anyway.
There was a Bullwinkle movie.
Meat gun.
Yes, it was a tie-in.
Meat gun.
Yeah.
They use moose meat in the meat gun. That's the connection.
I'm not as upset as Steve about the artificial ingredients, because the truth is that we should probably all be eating less processed food if possible. But he has a great point in that the more unprocessed food becomes unpopular, the more expensive food is going to be. Period. And
it's true.
You know, it's just not that big a deal. I mean, it is all, and the fact that we know it's all marketing. It's all marketing. So all of our food's got to, I mean, isn't the idea of fast food supposed to be cheap and convenient? So what happens when all the fast foods do that? It's not going to be cheap anymore. Might be a little bit healthier, but maybe not. Yeah.
God, I hope not.
God, no, not that.
No. Yeah, I like cooking, so.
So that's all I got.
Interesting, and yeah, that's a deep thought. So after the franchise wars, and Taco Bell is the only remaining franchise left, they're only going to be using non-GMO, gluten-free, simple ingredients from a local farm.
Prepared by robots.
Prepared by robots. See, you took my punchline.
Sorry.
A robot holding a meat gun.
Yes. That's like the scariest thing ever. Watch out for the meat gun. It's got moose in it.
It's moose. Taco Bell is moose.
Animated moose.
Their new jingle will be the Marty Moose. You know.
Yes, probably.
Song.
So I'm gonna now switch. Thanks, Barbara, for that. That was cool.
Now the song is running in my head, so you're welcome.
Try to get past the earworm at this point, and go back to Bob. Bob was supposed to go first, but I like Barbara better, so I let her go. And I'm sorry, Bob.
No, you got to have your priorities. Okay, so.
But okay, go ahead. All I have here is something about an Event Horizon of bullshit, which it better be good, man, because that movie just stuck with me.
This is pretty bad. Okay, so this week an expose ran in the Telegraph about a highly unusual cancer conference, which may have led to grotesque violations of the UK's 1932 Cancer Act. I'm happy to say that it was Skeptics, who have already had a leading role in a number of really successful actions in the UK, are responsible for this expose, and we'll get to that. And this is how the story unfolds, but I need to warn you, because it was a Telegraph exclusive, it's like my only source. So, all right, so the Spirit of Health Congress was held in Sussex on May 4th. It was billed as, according to this bill, if you could bring it up.
Billed as this bill.
As according to this bill, it says, quote, the first time in known British history the great minds and spirits of naturopathy and working therapies and law are meeting to offer you the God-given right to be physically and mentally bursting with life.
Oh my God!
Wow.
Mentally bursting.
That sounds painful.
That is an angry flyer.
It really, it's kind of messed up. Fusing this with how to use law to stop governments, big pharma, and other corporations from stripping you of your assets and health closure.
I like your emphasis on there.
Yeah. Well, no,
it's the caps. Yes,
it is the
all caps. You have to read it that way.
We're going to get to that. I think there might be a reason for it. All right.
And assets.
So it reads kind of like it was written by a Time Cube level defective of some sort. And I do like how the alternative veterinarian on there, Dick Schrader, if you look, he's listed as a renounced animal physician, which is probably more accurate than what he was going for.
Renounced.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure what that means.
I know.
Did he renounce the animal part or the physician part? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
All of it. He's completely renounced.
Yeah. So okay. So I want you guys to take. Barb. Yeah, she vanished. So take a look at the guy at the top right of this. I thought there was a typo in his name.
Guy?
Which you're right or they're right?
Oh.
Is it the guy with the suntan or the hair?
The bald guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
I thought there was a typo in his name, and I don't know how well you can see it. Let me see if I can.
He's got colons in his name.
He's got extra colons. For the extra shit that's coming out of his mouth. All right, so his name is written :Mark-Kishin :Christopher. And usually I would write this off as a typo, but at the bottom you can see that he's put his mark there. If you look at the bottom of the thing, and he signed his signature with that, with the colons, and with the thumbprint.
Why is everything hyphenated at the bottom?
Yes. There's a reason for it.
I bet it's a good one.
And it's stupid. All right, so, he says it has the autograph seal and copyright copy claim. Okay, this is what he's saying, and with then he has his name written with the colon and the fingerprint. This is strange, and I suspect, if I may channel my inner Popat, and it turns out I apparently have an inner Popat. It seems to be the legal equivalent of peeing on someone else's house and claiming that it's yours. Okay. And you know what I thought?
Dogs.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, I was looking at this, and I thought back to, and even Tim will remember this, probably, when we went to the chemtrails thing, the chemtrails.
Oh, yeah.
There was a guy there. There was a guy. Okay, so it was this screening of what in the world are they spraying, right? And during the get the meet and greet beforehand, we were talking to a variety of very interesting and quite scared. Yes.
Yeah.
That's
one. I think there have been sequels.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
I wouldn't be surprised.
There was one guy there who was saying that he was like taken to court for not paying his taxes. And he stood and he told the judge that he didn't have authority because the flag had a yellow fringe around it, and that meant that it was under like the law of the sea.
Oh yeah, I remember that argument.
Yeah,
Freeman on the land.
It's kind of this Freeman on the land kind of thing, and I was like, okay, so is this like the same type of? And then he talked about how he got thrown in jail.
They have the whole thing, about their names.
Eve?
Yeah.
When you both talk,
we'll get there.
Yeah.
So we have the, I wonder if it was kind of a similar thing. The funny bit was, the punchline was he was thrown in jail right afterwards after trying to pull this, like, you don't have jurisdiction stuff. So he was like bragging like he won. I was like, no, but you ended up in jail, dude. Anyway.
That happens to them over and over and over again.
Yeah. We're getting there, Eve.
Yeah.
So, if you looked on the... Okay, so if you go to this guy, this Mark-Kishin:*Christopher page, you go to his LinkedIn page, and I'll have you bring that up.
It's really hard to Google a string with a colon in it.
For now on, we're just going to call him Colon.
Okay, so Captain Colon. If you look along the right-hand side where there are a lot of people who have the same convention in there, and a lot of them seem to think of themselves as postal judges and postal court clerks. It was very strange, and I was like, this is suddenly more interesting, the alternative medicine stuff I was doing, because this is so odd. And so when you started looking at them, some of them said that they had expertise in quantum language syntax grammar. Which...
Oh, no!
Hold on. So
they
basically...
Make word salads, too.
I know.
Healthy.
And so it's like, that was it. Like, there's something going on here. They're all doing this quantum language thing.
Quantum syntax... What is it?
Apparently the idea is that we are controlled by language, and if you use these language conventions, you can free yourself. Or something.
I
they read Snow Crash.
It was like Strunken White's cat.
There will be a nerd out there who laughs, and they're awesome.
I didn't get that one. I was hoping someone got the Snow Crash reference, though.
Not a chance. Yeah. So, when you look up quantum language syntax grammar, actually, I came across the webpage of the Wikipedia page of a guy, David Wynn Miller, who, according to Miller, the addition of hyphens and colons identifies a person as a matter of fact existing in the now-time dimension. The names, as written in this way, are distinguished from the names listed at birth and in all caps, as on the birth certificate, which identify the legal estate, and not the living being in fact. In fact, signing up to get a birth certificate creates a taxable person, a corporation. That's like this legal theory. And it as I was reading that, another thing that was said at that movie, that some guy said that they're using our birth certificates somehow to pay off the national debt to China. And so I think that's tied up in this. Do you remember that?
Yeah, but there's also, if you say the magic words, somehow the federal government owes us all a whole big bunch of money.
Whatever. Yeah, this guy's a... Yeah.
But that's a different federal government than the one he's talking about.
The one on Earth?
Well, no, he's British, right? So it's a slightly different
version. He says, hold on. He says, well, we'll get there, but this is pretty interesting. The Wikipedia page mentions the people who use this theory to argue their cases in court have been, quote, uniformly unsuccessful.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it turns out...
I have a ton of news articles about these nuts.
Oh, my God.
Freeman of the land nuts getting slapped down in court.
Oh my God! And they don't learn.
We're sovereign citizen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is this. If you bring up the next image, it seems to be the same legal theories, the folk theories, from the tax protesters and the law of the sea crowd. Okay.
Yeah.
So the Telegraph amusedly quoted Mark Kishin : as identifying himself as Reverend of the Genesis 2 Church of Health and Healing. He told the audience that he can, quote, disqualify the Cancer Act. With just a few hours training, he said one can learn to, quote, pull down any judge on the planet, end quote. Judges, he said, were all, quote, liars, thieves, rapists, murderers, and pillagers.
You know,
the reason why he can do it in any country, the reason he can do it in any country, I think, is because it's the law of the sea.
Ah.
Aha.
Ah.
And also.
Okay, and now you need to pause and let Eve say what she was going to say.
Okay, Eve.
I don't know
things out.
No, I'm just saying that there are slightly different versions of it in Britain and in different countries. Okay. But no, it turns out, regardless of the country, if you go into court and say that to judges, as some of them have said things like that to judges, the judges just love that, being told that they're liars and what have you. It really impresses them.
Yeah, considering they could just throw you into court and they don't like what you say.
So. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and there's the whole magic thing about whether they'll recognize their names or not in court, too.
Oh, yeah.
The person referred to, there's a whole magic formula about that, too, and it doesn't work. Oddly enough.
I'm convinced I'm totally going to change my name to umlaut * $, pound.
Change your name to nothing but emojis.
Emojis. Smiley, frowny.
I'm just a poop.
Wink.
Yes.
Poop. There you go. Smiley.
Okay, so anyway, the Spirit of Health Congress was to medicine what quantum language parsed syntax grammar is to jurisprudence. It had been the conference had been moved twice because the reputations of some of the speakers or honored guests, and they've been popularizing some pretty dangerous treatments. A guest of the conference who ultimately didn't show, but who's advertised, Jim Humble, is listed as MMS, that's Miracle Mineral Supplement, which is bleach taken internally. And it's been promoted as a cure for Crohn's, but also this guy took it to the next odious level, suggesting that it's a treatment for autism, HIV, and Ebola. Clearly, since his reputation is as poisonous as his product, Humble, a former Las Vegas gold prospector and current gold digger, was dropped from the schedule. Since the event was already contentious, the people responsible decided to dick around with the cancer patients they were hoping to lure to the event. And it's so weird how they pulled this off that I have to read the paragraph from the Telegraph. Quote, those paying £89 to attend the conference on May 4th were given no venue details. Instead, they were instructed to meet in a nearby town from where they were given train tickets to Shoreham by Sea. And this is probably worked to the speaker's advantage. We've seen other nonsense salesmen like Chip Coffey sort their audiences by levels of commitment by using ticket sales, the price of tickets, for instance. So he just calls on the people who sit up front and bought the expensive tickets. You can almost bet that the people who went along to the final venue, and they mentioned that some didn't, were really only the most vulnerable people. Right. And this makes the whole thing more frustrating. Although I think they were trying to just fly under the radar. But it probably had the side effect of just getting the really desperate people. Regardless, numerous claims were made about the efficacy of some of these dangerous alternative cancer treatments. For instance, one guy, what was his name? Adrian Jones, an Australian naturopath. Well, let's just say he's completely screwed. He was caught on tape saying all sorts of things like the immune system appears to combine with black salve to kill the cancer. that there was a, quote, 100% guaranteed cure for any sort of skin cancer. This is black salve, and black salve is nasty stuff. It just it's highly corrosive and caustic and scars and burns.
Somebody did an article about it on here. I don't remember who.
Yeah, it's really nasty stuff.
Yeah.
And then that a liquid version, Amazon Tonic 3, provides a 70 or 80% cure rate for internal cancers. That last treatment, the paper noted, is manufactured by Greg Catton, quote, a convicted felon who was sentenced in 2004 to 33 months in prison for weapons possession, defrauding customers, and violating FDA regulations in relation to alternative health practices. And if you get sentenced for violating the regulations of our FDA, you must have done something really wrong, because they are almost helpless when it comes to fighting these people. So how do we know all of this? Well, because Simon Singh. Hurrah for Simon Singh.
Yay!
Yay!
I like him and his books.
Yeah, he's great. I met him at Nexus a couple of years ago, and he was such a nice guy.
Yep.
So the Good Thinking Society attended and filmed the presentations. They turned this into the Telegraph, and there have since been calls from MPs to initiate a criminal investigation. So well done to the Good Thinking Society. This is how it's done. You know, I think, honestly, I think that there are Pulitzer Prizes in a lot of skeptical topics. And I would love to see people being the intermediary to journalists. I think that's really useful. So
Sure,
yeah.
Totally.
I agree.
And Mark Price on Twitter agrees that you did cross the bullshit horizon. So thank you, Bob. Congratulations. There you go.
I'm just going to get increasingly red-shifted.
Yes.
That's funny if you get
An accretion disc will form around your head.
Wouldn't a bullshit horizon be a secretion disc?
Ew, you said that. And also, I'm opposed to the
nailing it tonight.
Damn.
Sorry about that one. I really am sorry about that one.
No, you're not.
Yeah, you're not.
No, I'm not. Did we get everybody? Oh, that's right. We haven't had a robot update in a while. Let me do that. Do the little thing. The music's all messed up. I don't know why the music's that messed up tonight. I must not hit the settings right.
Sounds relatively okay.
Bob can play Angry Birds for you.
Yes, let's play.
Preferably while you're talking, though.
Can you play the Star Wars and see if we can get a copyright notice on that?
Yeah, don't.
Yeah.
That's a
there's
joke.
that.
Let's see.
Stop.
That's enough. Thank you. I'm going to get flagged. While I'm going to talk about the upcoming finals for the DARPA Robotic Challenge that's going to be in 8 days. 8 days! This is 8 days, guys. That's a week.
Where do they have that? Is it in Virginia?
You can watch this video. This is an Atlas robot. This is the MIT guys, I think, doing a fall test of some kind. You're going to essentially watch this one guy, whose name I don't know right now. Just gonna try to knock him over repeatedly with a big boot.
George Ryan.
Yeah.
Crotch. Yes, he's gonna try to. And if you guys have any doubt the robots hate us even more watching this video, there you go. So, DARPA.
To be fair, he does have a titanium package.
That's true. So that was a failed attempt. He just gave up and curled up into a ball. Poor robot. DARPA Robotic Challenge. Originally, back in December 2013, they did the trial run where they had anybody who wanted to volunteer and meet certain qualifications could enter a robot or a team to program one of their Atlas robots, which is similar to what you're looking at right here, to do a number of tasks to see whether or not that people could build something that could do rescue, like go into a hazard area, do some tasks, maybe take care of some maintenance stuff to maybe turn off stuff, and I don't know, rescue in a hazardous area. The kind of tasks that they tested during the trials were like driving a little truck, opening a door, turning off emergency valves, rotating a vent, cutting through a door and opening it the hard way.
These really are phenomenal systems. These are amazing.
They are pretty cool. I don't remember. I don't have the notes in front of me as far as how many people had entered the trial 2 years ago. I know that 11 actually completed with enough points that they could move on to the finals. The winner was a robot named Chimp, which is a red kind of squatty thing. I'm going to show you a picture of all the current entries for the finals that's going to happen in a week in just a moment after this funny video is over. But they've also added 14 more contestants, most of them from out of the United States, except for those 2 U.S. teams. The rest of them are for like Germany, Hong Kong, Italy, Japan, China, and South Korea. And they got qualified by submitting video of being able of their system performing certain tasks during the trial. So they're kind of maybe not the not the prime competitors, but some of them may surprise us, and some of them are Atlas systems as well.
What does an Atlas system mean? What does that mean?
It's a particular platform. It's the robot you're looking at right now that was built by Boston Dynamics, which is now owned by Google. And you can enter the DARPA challenge using that platform, but developing your own control software. So it allows teams that have an expert in doing control systems, but don't have the resources to build their own robot to enter at the contest and compete. A lot of teams did build their own robots, and you'll see that in a second. Knock them over. Knock them over.
Can't you run it on Java?
Like I want to give that robot a meat gun so he can shoot them.
That's true. He definitely needs a meat gun. But doesn't it look like after he gets hit that he kind of gets into that threatening state? He's going to lunge at him?
It looks like he's mad at the dude.
I know. He's like, dude,
quit hitting me in the crotch, man.
I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you. Good thing that I'm strung up, because I'm going to get you.
Yeah.
Not as upsetting as the robot dog being kicked, though.
Oh, yeah, that was...
Oh, wow, look at those.
Okay, so this is all 25 contestants. 2 of them don't have images on the website, and then, unfortunately,
they're
they just show... Yeah, they just show broken images.
Cloaking device.
If you look closely, you can see a number of them are Atlas systems. These ones are the recognizable front plate. That one's Atlas down there. I don't know if you can see the... Can you see the pointer?
Yeah.
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 Or right. Yeah.
So that front plate is like a requirement for the Atlas system?
Well, you can recognize that robot by that shape of the front plate. You can see the heads are very similar. And these 2 are Japanese. It's a Japanese platform called the HRP2, I think. I don't know a whole lot about that system, but it's another one that's supposed to be an off-the-shelf system that a lot of people can program, but both those teams are Japanese teams. The red one up on the top is the Chimp. This one right here is like 4 down on the one that looks like a spider. Is Robo-Simian.
I showed that one to my students.
Yeah, it's supposed to be more like a more like a quadruped but like a climbing quadruped than a humanoid form. Some of this are very interesting. This one up in the top here. I'm not even sure who that team is, but it's very different than the rest. I don't know how. I think that's a new team, not one of the teams that won the trials. I know this one right here is called the Escher, and it's made by China.
Which one?
It's second from the top on the far right, on my far right. So it's kind of silvery, and it looks like got a whole bunch of links.
Yeah,
It's got more articulation in each limb than any of the other ones do. There's like tons of joints. I don't know how many there are, but it's like every segment is a new joint of some kind.
Well, the Robo-Simian's like that, kinda.
Yeah, but it mostly has rotating joints, but the other one has both. It has both rotating and bending. So yeah, I've got.
What's the Nido Hydra?
Which one?
It's right in the middle.
Yeah,
that's also one I don't know. It's an overseas. It's not an American robot. but it definitely looks like it's got a lot of articulation. All this page is from the website, and I'll link to it in the show notes, so you can actually browse through the specs on all these and how they did in the trials and all that stuff.
Team MIT appears to be prancing.
Yes, that's the that is the Karate Kid robot. No.
Swan kick.
Swan.
No, crane. It was crane.
Crane.
Swan.
Yeah, theirs is pretty promising too. The Valkyrie is not listed on this. The Valkyrie is one that was made by JPL, and unfortunately was not ready for the trial, so they did not qualify. But they will most likely, because they've been still working on it, and some of the videos online are awesome. I'll link to those as well. They may be at the event because there's going to be all kinds of trade show stuff there as well related to robotics. The event is June 5th and 6th. That's 8 days away. It is in at the Fairplex in Pomona, California. If you're in the area, it's free. Go. If you have any interest in robots, it's a cool day. There's vendors there. You can go hang out and watch them do the trials. Some of them are kind of slow and dull, but robots, man. Big, freaking, real robots. If you're not in California, they do stream this live all day, well, almost all day, both days. I'll link to the URL. The total prize amount these guys are going to win is like $3.5 million to go off and do whatever, maybe start a business with whatever platform they built, and sell, emergency robots to the government.
What was the date? Again?
June 5th and 6th. So next weekend, or weekend after.
Not this weekend, but
so Barb, are you going to go?
Pomona.
Not if you are.
Pomona.
Okay, she shrugged. I think that's yes.
It's probably safer to watch it online. They can't kill you that way.
That's true. That's true.
If she can find her meat gun, she'll go.
I was kind of hoping we could get her to go, and then she can wave at the cameras and shake hands with the robot, take pictures with him, and we can see them online, and she can stay out of the way when they're okay. I got a little information on what they're actually going to be testing. The difference between the trials and the finals. The trials, they had this huge paper of all these details related to what things the robots are going to have to do, so much so that a number of the teams actually recreated them and went all through them before they even came to the event. This time, not so much information. Very general. I mean, some of the tasks are very similar, like drive the vehicle. Although, the only specification that they've given is drive the vehicle. They don't describe what vehicle it's going to be, what kind of control it's going to be, whether they're going to have to go through obstacles. Who knows? It's probably not going to be a bicycle, but it's probably not going to be something too unexpected. But they probably will have to be able to drive and maybe go around something.
Space shuttle.
Yeah, you sound like you're coming back.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. They have to get out of the vehicle. They have to open a door and go through it. Whoop-de-doo. They have to open a valve, and they specify the size of the valve. That's not a big deal. That's from the previous one. They have to use a cutting tool to cut a hole in the door, and they have to remove a certain amount of the door that's specified. They don't specify what it is, but they say there's going to be a hole, and you're going to have to make that hole. There's a surprise manipulation task, which, go ahead and giggle.
They have to manipulate surprises?
Yeah. They have to plan a surprise party for one of the other robots.
They have to try to get someone else to go. No, never mind. No, they said that there was going to be one task that they're not going to tell you about it ahead of time, and it's going to be something that they have to do with their hands, and they did specify they won't have to be moving. They won't require mobility at the time, so they won't be able to walk and do something. They'll be able to stand still and do something. One of the hard ones, they're going to have to traverse rubble, which just means they have to walk a certain distance or be mobile in any way they can. You look at the list; these are all walking robots. So they'll be walking over a certain distance with who knows what's going to be in the way. And then finally, they have to climb stairs. and there's going to be a certain distance they have to climb, a certain type of stair they have to climb. In this case, there's going to be a handrail, so they can take advantage of that if they need to. The other thing that's new in the finals, which is what I find, well, I'm going to be probably glued to my screen watching this. Let me find the exact words here. Oh, I can't find it. The robots will not be allowed to be tethered, either mechanically, electronically, or for power. So they will have to run, to complete the tasks on battery power. They will have to complete the tasks with only Wi-Fi communication, which has been specified that there will be possible dropouts. And it will have to be without a safety catch. So if it falls, it's gonna face plant. Now, the funny thing is that the teams kind of came back and said, well, we suggest we should probably use an attached belay cable, which is what they call it, the cable that catches it. But we will accept. But those who do it will accept a penalty in time, to offset that. And DARPA came back and said, no. Just
so
no.
I take it they won't be poking the robots with a big pole in their crotch.
I'm not sure. Maybe that's a surprise task.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Surprise!
Surprise!
You got poked with a stick. As someone who pokes robots with sticks on a regular basis.
Oh, so you're the one.
It was a meme once, and I am so embarrassed. Yeah, let's see. So the time allotted to run each trial is 60 minutes. So for each robot, they get 60 minutes. They have to go through all those tasks that we talked about. They can restart each task once. So if they get through and they can't get through it, they can go back and do it again.
This is really tough.
Yeah. They can skip tasks, but they get points for completing things. So if you skip something, you're not going to get points for it. Yeah, this is where it says, the robot may not use a safety belay, which is the cable. It may not use power tether. You may not use wired communications. This is going to be tough. Now, some of these systems have already proved that they can do this or come close, so it's going to be very cool. And there's going to be some really cool tech that comes out of this and become commercial, and I'm looking forward to it. And it's not smart yet, so it won't kill us yet, but it will someday. And that's this week's
Probably
update
okay.
on the robot apocalypse. I'm psyched. So we're 23 minutes over. Let's wrap this stinking thing up. We got trivia question. Did anybody get trivia question? Tim.
No, I think I was kind of unclear in what I was trying to go for. Mark Price came closest. He came up with Alan Abel, who was the guy who created the hoax.
Oh.
But I was looking for the guy that Alan Abel hired to perform the hoax on the Today Show. And if you look on the Skeptic History Twitter feed today, you'll see a picture of him, and it was none other than Buck Henry.
Buck Henry, which, like I said before,
you may remember from old episodes of Saturday Night Live playing a creepy uncle, and but I remember him as one of the co-creators and writer of many classic episodes of Get Smart.
Yeah. And until I saw his name, I didn't remember the event at all, and I was like, oh yeah.
And he wrote many other great comedy things.
Well, I don't think anybody tried to guess the videos this week. They're kind of dark and repeating quickly, as trailers do. Anyway, the one that's closest to me is a movie trailer for a movie from, I think it's like 2008, called, it's not an American movie, it's called Let the Right One In. It's a little bit of a psychological horror movie. I saw it over the weekend, and I'd never seen it before, that version, and it was good. I really enjoyed it.
I've heard good things.
Yeah. The other one is the trailer for the American remake, which was made in 2010, and I haven't seen that, but I hear it's not as good. I think that watching it subtitled actually added quite a bit of the mystery of the movie, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. So there you go. A couple of, well, at least one movie recommendation. Announcements. Book time. Guys, get your books. We got one announcement on here. Sharon Hill, panelist emeritus. Or emerita? Is it emerita? Emerita. She's doing a scholarship fund to send people to, send educators to TAM. If you don't know about TAM, the Amazing Meeting, go look up the Amazing Meeting in Las Vegas coming up in July. You can contribute if you want to help send some smart people that teach people, educators, to TAM, because it's a good experience for them. There's a link going to be in the show notes. And it's a good cause. So go check it out. Any other announcements, people? Anyone?
Skepticality. Eve's got one.
No, it's delayed a week. Remember?
Oh, a whole week.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Skepticality next week.
Skepticality next week.
Various folks. Barb, are you going to be at the Skeptic Society thing?
I will be
weekend?
in the audience. Yes.
Yep, the Skeptic Society conference that they have every couple of years, every 2 or 3 years or so.
It's sporadic. I think it's whenever Michael Schumer has something he wants to cover in a.
Yeah, I think the last conference one they had was 2012 or 2011 or something like that. But is this weekend? Barbara will be there. I think Derek is going to be there.
Derek is going to be there.
Yeah. Skepticality.
Various other folks.
Okey-doke. So there's your announcements. Who wants to go first on the book thing? Barbara.
No, I don't have mine out yet. I have to get mine out.
Oh, fine. We'll just watch you get your book out.
That's riveting.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially for the people in the podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you can compress that. It's called editing.
Although this should make life a little...
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just like grabbing something totally at random, so hopefully it's
awesome.
Although this should make life a little easier for Molly's pack, Pelican Valley is also home to a dense population of grizzly bears that emerge from their dens during this time and seem to enjoy a free meal provided by the wolves. During late winter, bison carcasses are often taken over by an emerging grizzly or two. In summer, after the elk have returned and life was supposed to be a little easier, Molly's pack is often found bedded near an elk kill. However, we usually also observe that a grizzly bear is controlling the carcass, and as many as 9 grizzly bears have been observed on a kill by Molly's pack. It must be frustrating to not only have grizzly bears take over your food source, but know that it is going to happen while you are vigorously working toward acquiring your next meal. But that is how life has been for the wolves in Molly's pack.
Eve, ready?
Yes. Were we to seek to understand why a literary poet wrote what he did in a particular poem in a particular manner and form, we should not focus our attention on the moment when he or someone else read or recited his poem to a particular audience, or even on any moment when we ourselves read the poem in quiet solitude. We should instead attempt to reconstruct that moment in time when the poet wrote the lines. Obviously, the moment of composition is the important one for such study. For the oral poet, the moment of composition is the performance. In the case of a literary poem, there's a gap in time between composition and reading or performance. In the case of the oral poem, this gap does not exist because composition and performance are 2 aspects of the same moment.
Okay. Bob?
The eye is an example of what is referred to as an irreducible complexity. It would be statistically impossible for random processes operating through gradual mechanisms of genetic mutations and natural selection to be able to create 40 separate subsystems when they provide no advantage to the whole until the very last state of development. Ask yourself how the lens, the retina, the optic nerve, and all the other parts and vertebrates that play a role in seeing not only appeared from nothing, but evolved into interrelated and working parts.
I like how me and Tim are like making faces while you're reading. Go ahead, Tim.
Extrapolating from the fossil record, the prevalence of aquatic parasites should grow along with the extent of anthropogenic climate change. Huntley et al. Quantified the abundance of pits in nearly 4,000 mollusk shells from Holocene Pearl River in China, the delta sediments there. Pitting is caused by trematodes or flatworms. Trematode prevalence over the course of about 10,000 years was highest just after the onset of sea level rise and lowest during maximum flooding. Although a number of variables can change with sea level rise, parasite prevalence was not statistically explained by changes in salinity or host abundance.
Okay. My friends from Balticon have done me proud. Comes the news that last night, as they rocked and rolled within a hotel room too loud, it seems for one old man who it seems knocked, or had some hotel lackeys do so, at the door to our PG suite to ask, they keep it down or just disperse. The cat who took my drinking buddies so to task was no less than Stan Lee. Oh, how I wince to think the mighty fallen, so that one who's caused such noise in his day now has since become such a naysayer at clean fun. Scotch apocalypse is dead, I see. Long live the Stamageddon. It is much to give. Isn't that awesome? Isn't that awesome?
Stamageddon.
Okay, go ahead, Barbara. What's your book?
My book is the Yellowstone Wolf Project Annual Report 2011.
The Wolf Project.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's sparking a memory in there somewhere. Go ahead, Eve.
Alfred B. Lord, the Singer of Tales.
I don't have any idea.
It's really good. It's really important in
It's very important.
orality and literacy studies.
Okay. Bob.
Oral composition studies.
Mine was the origin of species, 150th anniversary edition with a very, very special
It's the Ray Comfort version.
Ray Comfort. A student at Georgia Tech saw people handing this out on campus and got me a copy.
I thought people were like getting the free copies and ripping out the front or something, weren't they?
We just kept it in our bathroom for a long time.
Yeah, well, that's where to keep it. Although I keep my best literature there. Go ahead, Tim.
Mine was not a book. It was the December 2014 issue of Science. It was a summary of a paper.
From the AAAS.
Yes.
Okay, so mine was a sonnet from, this was written by Kate Sherrod, in the sonnet section of this book, Tales of a Tesla Ranger, which is an anthology. Well, let's see here. It's a tribute to P.G. Holyfield. Some of you out there might know who P.G. Holyfield is. He's a podcaster.
Andrew Holyfield. I'm like,
no.
No. I'm sorry. I shouldn't.
He's a podcaster and an author. Won awards for both. He's also done voice work and as has a father of at least I think 2 girls. Yes. Unfortunately, got some kind of aggressive cancer and died last year at the age of 46 in the summertime, and was loved by many and missed by all of them. So, and it's a very cool anthology. A lot of his friends and other talented people contributed to this. It's a really cool book, and it's available on Amazon. If you buy it, there are proceeds that go to support his kids. So
Nice.
Yep. Is that everything? We did it all? We did everything, all the stuff?
We're done. Put the cork in.
Okay, so there goes the logo. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and that's not funny. We're going to play the crappy music, and I'm going to read the stuff. Come on, hold on. Virtual Skeptics is an independent production of What'sTheHarm.net, Skeptics Humanities, myself, ICBS Everywhere, and Delta News. Our logo was designed by Sarah Mayhew, and it's sarahmayhew.com, and our theme music is by Music Kent, and used with permission. I think that the music is without consonants. Yeah.
It doesn't sound like it has consonants.